Welcome to Align Your Marketing, the podcast for loan officers who want to create visibility on autopilot by building marketing engines that actually work together. I'm your host, Chelsea Gardner, founder of Fully Aligned Marketing, and every week we're talking about the strategies, the systems, the tools, and the stories that help you stay top of mind with the people who matter most. If you're ready to stop creating random pieces of content and start building a marketing engine that keeps working long after you hit publish, you're in the right place, my friend. Welcome back, y'all. It has been well over a year since I've sat down and recorded a podcast episode. And has a lot changed since then. By the time you're hearing this, so this is like my first, podcast out in over a year. So by the time you're hearing this and I get it out and I get it live, Aiden had another MRI. So this isn't our first one. We've had 3, this will be his 3rd one, since his diagnosis with lissencephaly. So within the next week or 2 from when you're hearing this episode, we'll be meeting with the neurosurgery team to discuss the MRI findings and possible brain surgery because of epilepsy and drop seizures. So life has been full. It has been a lot. But also I have just really felt pulled to get behind this microphone again and really kind of just chat with you and share a lot of things. And so I also have some really exciting news, some really exciting things happening. Fully Aligned will now be adding podcast editing, YouTube editing, book publishing, all of the things. We've got some courses that we're launching, and it really just all of those pieces have just got me thinking about marketing, not necessarily in a completely different way, but just in a way that I think I might not have really portrayed otherwise. So how am I explaining this? So not as separate services, but as pieces of one system. And that's really what I want this podcast to become, and what I really want to kind of share, what's kind of come to me, what I've wanted to talk about. And so this podcast is going to feel a little different. It's going to still talk about meta ads. You guys know I am the ads queen. I think that, all loan officers should be running targeted meta ads. That is not changing. We're still talking about marketing. That is not changing. But we're also going to talk podcasting. We're going to talk about YouTube. We're going to talk about AI and book publishing and storytelling and content, because honestly, all of those things work better together than they do separately. So I truly don't think that you have a content problem. I don't. I think you have a bank of content. I just think you have a disconnected marketing problem. And so you post on social media, and maybe you don't, but you post on social media. You send occasional emails. You maybe record a video. You maybe have ran meta ads. But honestly, none of those things maybe have connected. And they just might feel like random marketing activities that you should be doing, right? So I should be posting. I should be sending an email. I should be recording a video. I should be running an ad. But it's not a marketing engine, okay? So a marketing engine is simply put, it is a connected system. It's one idea that fuels multiple pieces of content. And it's where every platform kind of supports the next one. So let's take this episode, for example. So this story became a podcast. This podcast will also become a YouTube video. And that YouTube video will become Reels, TikTok videos, YouTube Shorts, right? Those Reels will become social content. And the key takeaways from this podcast episode will become an email to my database of the strongest message in it, and it will probably become a meta ad. Or I could run ads directly to just the podcast to grow my subscribers. Okay. So one idea, one podcast, one story is doing 6, 7, 8 different jobs. So I think you're going to hear me say this a lot, but create visibility on autopilot. And I don't mean passively. I mean, you still have to show up. You still have to create the content. You still have to build the relationships. You still need to be calling your realtors, your database, all of that. None of that changes. But the autopilot happens after you create that original idea. Okay. So a YouTube video can be discovered years later, right? Think about the last time you searched YouTube. Okay. So maybe it was how to bake sourdough, how to fix your dishwasher. I think I YouTubed how to how to make a broody hen take to baby chicks because I wanted some more baby chicks, but I couldn't obviously mix them. So I needed my hen to take to the babies so she could watch them. That was a YouTube video. So the videos are probably years old, right? They can, I mean, yes, you can find videos that are a couple months old, but you can also find them, they might populate in Google that are years old. And they're still working, they're still driving traffic. And a podcast builds trust. So maybe today you have no idea who I am, and that's okay. But hopefully, after listening to this podcast week after week, or maybe you're following me on socials week after week, you start trusting me, right? You start saying, wow, maybe she does know what she's talking about, or I really enjoy what she has to say. And you know what? I agree, right? That starts building that trust within me sharing a story or my perspective in a podcast episode, okay? And then an email being sent keeps showing up in your database, right? And your meta ads keeps this message circulating. So now I'm all over the place, okay, with one message. So if I take the core message of this podcast about not being invisible, basically, right? Where I want you to build a marketing engine, and what that is, that information can now become all of these things. And every platform has a job, okay? And you know what? If you're getting a little fancy, write a book. It builds authority for years, right? Write a book. So random content can just create activity. It doesn't create momentum. And honestly, I know this because I've done it, and I've done that same concept for years. I create content literally just to create content, to make sure I have something to post, make sure I have something that goes out, to make sure that I, check the box, right? And then I just disappear. Poof, I'm gone, right? Because, well, one reason is because this is what I do for a living. So my stuff always gets pushed to the back burner. So I disappear because I'm working on client work. But then I come back and then I feel guilty. And so I start over and then I repeat the process. So does that sound familiar to you? Because that's me, right? And so this time I'm taking my own advice. I've seen it work for clients. And so I'm building my own marketing engine, right? Because again, I've done this for clients. Everything works together. And I personally don't want to feel like every Monday or every Sunday or every week, I'm asking myself, what should I post today? Or what should I post this week? I literally want one idea that I can work for weeks. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that, I'm going to be posting the exact same thing on my social media organically every single day for weeks. No, but that piece of content this podcast, I could break it out simply into like 15 different videos just by hitting one thing, okay? One idea from a long form piece of content. And so that's what I want. That's what I'm going to be doing differently. It's what I have helped clients do. So I'm like, I'm going to take my own advice, right? I'm going to take my own advice and I'm going to do this too. So I'm doing it with you. And so honestly, that's kind of why I'm coming back to the podcast. And that's what this podcast is going to be about. I want to help you build your own marketing engine. I want to help you connect the dots. I want to help you create that visibility that will keep working even after you hit publish, right? I want you to come up with these ideas and be able to have them last longer than the 2 hours that they last on an Instagram reel or a 24-hour story. Okay. So let me give you one more example. Let's say you have a client success story. Okay. So you have a client success story, and that success story looks like point A is said client wants to buy a house. Point Z is said client closes on the house, right? But we know there are multiple other letters between A and Z, and it's not a straight line to get from point A to point Z, okay? We know that there is a messy middle in that in between of that client success story of you getting them and then getting them closed, right? Usually it is not a straight line. And so you tell that story, right? You tell the story of how all of that messy middle up and down, how you got that client from point A to point Z. What does that look like? That is a story that you can tell in a long form YouTube video, or you can share on a podcast, and then you're repurposing it into social posts, and then you're pulling quotes, right? Maybe you got a review, you're pulling the review. You're sending an email to your database about how this particular client had these issues or these concerns or these problems or these questions or whatever, and how you, as the expert, as the loan officer, got them from point A to point Z in a messy way, right? It's messy, but to them it was a straight line, right? So that visibility, that story builds those relationships, right? And we want to build relationships with the people we want to do business with. And relationships become referrals. And that's the engine. That's the whole engine. So before you leave, before you close me out, go look at the last piece of content that you created. Even if it was like a year ago, I get it, trust me. And I want you to ask yourself, where else could this live? Could it essentially become a longer form video, right? Maybe you posted the last piece of content you posted was just a copy pasted Google review from your, like a quote or something, and you just threw it on as a like graphic, okay? That Google review has a story, right? That story can become a video. It can become an email. Can it become a podcast? Can it become an ad? I want you to find 2 or 3 more places that piece of content could live. That's not saying I want you to go knock out a podcast episode and whatnot if you do not have a podcast. But I want you to just think about the content that you are already putting together or the content that you are thinking about. How else can that become a marketing engine for you, where it's not just I'm creating these videos on these Instagram reels, or I'm creating a post and it just posts and then that's it, right? These things on social, they don't live that long. But when you have a marketing engine, man, it can last weeks, months, years. That's it. That's it. So go look 2 or 3 more places. Where could stuff go, right? So that's exactly, these are the things that we're going to be talking about here, right? So not just creating more content, but actually building the marketing engines that can keep working long after you hit publish. And I'm excited you're here for it. So thanks for being here. I'll see you on the next episode. All right. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow the show so you never miss one. And if you know another loan officer who needs to hear this, send it their way. Come hang out with me on the gram at Fully Aligned Marketing. And until then, I'll catch you next week.